And I'm live now. If you're afraid of heights, you're going to be excited about this chat. I have Lina Duque, MBA, who's going to join us. She's a social media strategist as well as an international speaker. Her strategies appeared in the Harvard Business Review, CNN, and I'm so honored to have her join us today. She recently did something that I would never dream of doing. She stood up 320 meters plus off the ground on the CN Tower. So when I saw that, I just said to myself, we have to chat. We have to chat. As you know, I keep repeating that confidence and courage are linked, and courage is not the absence of fear. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to invite Lina with us so we can hear her side of the story. Bear with me. Here she is. Any moment now, we should have Lina join us. Hi, Lina. Thank you for being part of this.
It's so good to connect live with you finally.
I know. I mean, we've had some busy times, so we had to reschedule a few times, but I'm glad it's happening. And it wasn't that long ago that you had this incredible experience just behind you, so it's going to still be really fresh in your memory, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been a month actually, a month and a week or so. Yeah, but I'm still kind of high on it, so.
I can imagine. That's not something you go back to very easily. So I introduced yourself very briefly, but I think we would love to hear your side, and if you can give us a little bit about a background about yourself and where you come from and what you do, what you're passionate about. I leave it to you.
Thanks, Tanya. Well, it's really a pleasure to be finally speaking with you live, and I want to thank Maria for introducing us.
Thank you so much.
I am a social media strategist. I help executives and academics build a strong and strategic social media presence. I'm also a social media instructor at University of Toronto. And I'm also founder of Untold, an organization, a nonprofit organization that helps women tell their stories and celebrate who they are and basically talk about what they're doing and share who they are with the world.
I love that initiative, and as you know, I want to talk about this at the end, but obviously the title of the chat and the main topic is to talk about facing fears. But if we get a chance at the end of the conversation, I would love to hear about Untold, but I urge everybody to have a look. It's on your bio, Untold, and it's giving voices to women who don't usually have a voice, with your support, right, and your mentoring, right?
Yes, I mean, it's really a community where we provide the tools, the know-how, and help women really put a story together, whether it's on video or in text format. So basically, if they have something they want to talk about, an experience they've gone through, whether it's a success or a failure, what they learned from it, or sometimes it's a fear that they had to overcome. So we basically help them put the story together, and sometimes they come to us wanting to focus on one specific aspect. But when we talk to them, we realize actually there's another story in there. So it's a process, and it's really fun to be part of it.
I love that. And let's start with you then. You and your experience and your story about what happened a month ago. Tell us about this journey, how you thought about it and how you got there.
I've been thinking about this for a long time, at least 5 years. I wanted to do it. I told a group of friends, I asked them, nobody wanted to do it. I talked to, I shared that with family and friends. Really, no one came forward. No one wanted to do this with me. Well, except for one person, but he doesn't live in this province, so it doesn't really. Someone just messaged me to say there's an echo, but I don't know how we can fix that.
Oh, I don't hear the echo. Let's see. Is it better now? Is it any better now?
Is it better now? I think it is better.
Good.
I think it is better. Oh, I just had to put my phone on silent, and that actually works better.
Yes.
So I've been thinking about the edge walk for years, maybe at least 5 years. I've shared it with friends and family, and I asked, I said, does anyone want to do it with me? No one wanted to do it with me. So, but I kept thinking about it, and then COVID hit, and there's always an excuse. Well, first I wanted to clear with my doctor because I have heart murmur. I was always coming up with excuses to not do it. And finally, it was, summer of 2021. It was nice weather. I know I had no excuse but to do it. And it's one of those things where you put it off for the longest time, and just one day you wake up, you realize, I have to do this now for myself. I don't care who's there. I don't know if anyone comes to me. I have to do it for myself. I want to conquer that fear. I mean, I'm not necessarily afraid of heights per se, but it was scary. The idea of me doing the edge walk was scary enough that I could, it's a scary enough challenge, so to speak.
And can you describe to me, because I wasn't familiar with it, what is it exactly? So you get on top, you get at the top of the tower, and then tell me the process. What happens when you get there?
It's not the very top of the tower. It's like basically sort of like a ledge. It's it's a meter and a half wide.
Okay.
And it's 356 meters above the ground.
All right.
And
okay.
you're harnessed, and basically you're harnessed and you're hanging onto like a metal thing around the tower, and you get to walk around the tower, on the edge of the tower.
All around it?
Yeah.
You do the full circle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
While being harnessed, and it's 356 meters above the ground. And it's
wow.
the highest hands-free walk in the world. And actually the CN Tower is the tallest structure in the Western Hemisphere.
Incredible.
The tallest standing structure in the Western Hemisphere. So there was no excuse. I had to do it. So I just basically, one day I decided I have to do it. I was actually getting my hair done at the hair salon, and I had to wait, when you're getting your hair colored, so you had to wait. So I just went online, saw it was Wednesday, and I booked it for Friday, and that was it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Basically, there was a bit of procrastination before, and then
I would say a lot of procrastination, not a bit, a lot of it. And
yeah.
I just finally had to do it. And it's actually good because I didn't have a lot of time of anxiety and anticipation. It was basically 2 days. But that's when the work really had to happen. I was scared, and I was anxious about it, and I had to psych myself up to do it, especially that I was doing it alone. So I basically relied on self-talk big time. It's a tip that I learned from Dr. Ivan Joseph. He is a performance coach and academic. And he's basically an expert on self-confidence. His TED Talk on YouTube has, I believe, over 25 million views so far. And he says self-talk is really key. You have to tell yourself that you're great, that you can do it. Muhammad Ali said he was the best before he even was the best. You know what I mean? It's just part of that process to really tell yourself that you are capable, you can do it. And you don't have to wait for people to do that for you. You can do that. And so one tip I learned from Dr. Ivan Joseph is writing a letter. He said when he felt down or he had a bump in the road, he had written himself a self-confidence letter that he read out every time he felt down. And that letter was basically a letter to himself, congratulating himself on all his accomplishments so far. Congrats on having gone to school and gone your PhD, whatever it is. Congrats on being an awesome mom, for example. So I thought, I'm just gonna write myself a letter. So I wrote myself a letter, and I said, this is I wrote it to myself, and I said, I'm gonna read it right before. I read it many times, and then I said, actually, this is the letter, and I put, read before the edge walk.
Oh, wow.
So actually, when we checked in at the CN Tower, I went to a quiet corner and basically read it out loud to myself. Hopefully they didn't think I was crazy. And I said, Lina, the world is your oyster. Go make yourself proud. You were born to do this. It will be amazing. That just think 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. It's a
Amazing.
tip that I learned from Mel Robbins. And that kind of got me, I mean, I journal and I do, you know, that and like a lot of self-talk and saying, you know, you can do this, no problem. And that kind of centered me.
Yeah, I mean, so that's you've got Farah saying that she's so proud of you. And we've got Alex who just joined. Hi, Alex. So we're
Hi.
talking about how Lina actually last month went 350 meters on top of the ground, on top of the CN Tower, and she walked all around the building. She was attached with a harness. We were attached, and you went all around the building, um, above the ground, facing complete, a bit like the Matrix kind of thing. Because I just rewatched it recently. And I was
I
thinking,
guess
like,
so.
I thought of you when I watched The Matrix. Actually, I thought, you know, when he has to jump for the first time, and I was thinking, oh my God, you know, like this is kind of what happens. Of course, you know you're safe, but you know, these are the thoughts that happen in your brain, right? There's just these irrational thoughts of what can happen to me, and I like how you said, okay, I was procrastinating a lot. Then I took the decision. I booked my place. I was alone. Nobody else wanted to do it. And then I worked on my self-talk and I just went for it and I didn't think too much about it. And I think that's very much key, right? In terms of the what I find with what you said, which is really difficult for most of us, it's two things. It's celebrating. So we struggle to celebrate anything. We keep wanting, for instance, we've accomplished our priorities during the week, let's say, but we're unhappy somehow because we're thinking of what's next rather than stopping in the moment and praising for the things that we've accomplished, for the pace that we've managed to keep up. And it's a bit this idea of, okay, being busy and having always something else to do is more praise than just celebrating what has happened and what you've accomplished. And it reminded me very much of that. So I know that I've tried recently to take a break and look at myself in the mirror, which actually I look at myself before going out, like that, but I don't look at myself that way, where I actually smile at myself, or I close my eyes, then I look at myself again with compassion. And I find, you know, like it's we are human. So when you're facing another human, something happens, and whether it's you or somebody else, your brain responds positively. So if you're smiling at yourself, it will respond as if someone is smiling at you the same way as someone else is smiling at you. And I find that, for instance, even before doing a talk, before doing public speaking, you know, doing that and taking some deep breaths really help as a way to kind of say, okay, you can do this. And the same way as self-talk, as you were talking about. And I know that you were mentioning to me as well how, and I want to hear about that you're an international speaker, right? You've done many talks. I'd love to hear, maybe you can share with us a few of the talks that you've been doing and what you're famous for, what you're cool for fame, and you were telling me that you had fear of public speaking. And I know that most of my clients have a fear of public speaking or doing IG lives or anything that involves, you know, being the center of attention. So clearly there's a link with what you've just gone through with the CN Tower, but just share with us also your journey when it comes to that. Oh, Samia is asking if you would do it again. That's a great question.
Absolutely. In fact, I was thinking it would be really awesome to do it with a group of women on International Women's Day.
Oh, the sound. Can you hear us?
Around would be like, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Sorry,
Sorry,
we
I
got
had a call. I had
disconnected.
to decline. And by the way, speaking of looking yourself in the mirror and saying and smiling, not only smile, say you rock, Tanya. You're amazing. You're doing an amazing job. You really have to pat yourself on the shoulder and you really have to stop and celebrate both the big and the small wins. Whether it's a great call that you just had with a client, or whether it's, you know, a huge accomplishment, whether it's graduating from university, whatever it is you have done. Now about, there's one more thing I want to mention quickly about overcoming the fear, is that I also um, had to reframe my anxiety as excitement. That was really key. Just as important as the letter to myself. I had to say, I'm really excited, because I was scared. I was like, no, I'm really excited. I can't wait. And the day before, I was with my cousin, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. She's like, no, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be amazing. And I kind of like kept riding that wave. It's going to, and that's relevant to public speaking as well. It's one of the things that I do beforehand. Like even before talking to you today, I was a little bit, nervous. I haven't done a live in a while. I was like, no, exciting. I can't wait. Posted about it. So you really have to reframe that as excitement. Now about public speaking and the fear of public speaking as a child, when I was 10 years old, we had, a graduation ceremony at my school, even in elementary school. So we had like a commencement even for fifth grade. And I was offered, I had the highest average in the whole school, and I was offered the opportunity, bless you.
Sorry, thank you.
I was picked as valedictorian, and I was offered the chance to give a speech. And I turned it down right away. Like, I was like, no way. Like, I didn't even consider it. And nobody around me, and I'm not necessarily blaming anybody, any adults around me, but no one, around me, whether it's, parent or teacher or supervisor, who came, like, no, Lina, you really have to give yourself a chance. At least try, at least do it in front of the mirror. Like it was just kind of passed, and I did graduate. I did get an award for being such a, an exceptional student, but that story kind of stayed with me for a long time. And as I became an adult, and became consulting in social media, that fear kind of lingered as well. And that's when I had to push myself to really overcome that fear. And the only way to do it is to actually do it as often as you can. Practice, practice, practice. I go back to Dr. Ivan Joseph. He's had such a great influence on me. He says, practice, practice, practice. And this is something this is not something you can apply to the edge walking, doing the edge walk at the CN Tower. It's a different kind of fear. This is something that you can practice. If perhaps speaking to strangers scares you, so you if you do more of it, it gets better every time. And I've held talks, oh my God, like hundreds of talks in the past 7-8 years or so, spoken on international stages. And in the beginning, I would get nervous, and even though I wouldn't sound nervous, my body language, I would sweat so much. It was so embarrassing at one time. And it got better as I did it, more and more of it.
So like you said, practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, practice and self-talk beforehand, and pump yourself up and saying, you're going to be amazing. I'm really excited. I'm going to rock that stage, or I'm going to rock that Insta Live. It's going to be amazing. And be prepared for it, prepare yourself so you feel really confident about that event.
It definitely. And I want to tie it with the picture of yourself on top of that tower as well.
Yeah,
because to be honest, it's funny. I didn't plan that, but yesterday I watched a TED talk of, and the title is "Fake It Till You Make It."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watched that TED talk.
No, but I'm familiar with the concept.
Exactly, but actually, what she's saying is, at the end, she's saying, "Fake it till you believe it." Mm-hmm. And she shows actually how humans are very similar to any other animals, who actually, when they feel a lot of self-doubt, their body language changes, and they will start contracting their shoulders, looking down. But then when they actually win something or they're proud, they're doing that pose that you're showing, that you've done there. Can you show it to the audience again?
Yeah, and I was super proud of myself.
There you go. That's victory.
It was
and she was showing that even blind people that have never seen other humans do that or reciprocate that, do it naturally. So it's something that's inherently human, right? Mm-hmm. And then she showed, and she did some experiment of people before going to an interview or doing something that is quite stressful, doing 2 minutes of that pose.
Yeah, the power pose. Is that
That power pose.
The Amy Cuddy video?
There you go.
TED
That's
Talk?
her.
Yes, yes.
That's
I
her.
actually wrote an article about it, and I interviewed her. She's a Harvard prof.
Exactly.
Yeah, the power pose is a great technique as well. And I've actually, you know, since the TED Talk came out, I've applied that tactic like beforehand. I would go to the washroom if I had an event and do the power pose. You can do it here at home. You know, we're doing a lot of online talks just beforehand, and I mean, it just does make you feel all the more better.
Yeah. It really creates this resilience. I find that when, first of all, you get there with another mindset, right? You go there with
Yes.
another mindset, and then you get more resilient. So if, let's say, the crowd, you have a tough crowd, which is what was happening. One of the interviewer kept having like this face
Poker
with
face.
no poker. Thank you. With no expression. And you respond to it better because you keep your confidence level at check, right? It's harder for you to be doubting yourself, etc. So I think that really, when I saw your post, I thought about that, and I made the link with this.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be a great tip before doing a big presentation or going for an interview. Just doing that power pose for 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whatever works. And some people, you know, like to hear, you know, like really energetic music, and whatever just gets you in that mood where you feel really good about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, that's reflected in how you're speaking, your body language.
Yes, and there's another question I wanted to ask you regarding public speaking. So let's say you've done all the practice and preparation, and you've practiced enough so that you feel ready, but something happens, you go on stage and then you blank, and you forgot, you know what, or you forgot something very important in that talk. Has that ever happened to you, and how do you respond to this? You know, how do you make it that it still works even though something unexpected happened and you feel you want to shame yourself for having done something wrong, you know?
I try to make a joke of it. It's like, oops, I just forgot to tell you something really important. I always prep myself that no matter what happens in that talk, like whatever it is, you trip, you know, you forget something, you mispronounce something, whatever it is, you really have to continue as if nothing happened. It's really key, because you don't want that little bump in the road to really, you know, impact all of your talk. And sometimes, I mean, I've had really tough audiences. I once spoke to a bunch of dentists, and I was speaking to them about how important it is to implement social media and use it to get clients and, you know, a wider reach. And it was such a tough crowd, like no expression, not even a smile, not even a nod. You know, you really get your energy when you're doing in-person events from your audience. And after the talk, I realized that actually they liked it. They're that kind of crowd. They're very serious. But it's really important to keep up the energy. And that's something I get good feedback on, like your energy level. You don't want that to affect you. And that's why it's so important to really, you know, to do the power pose and write yourself that self-confidence letter and tell yourself how great you are, and be centered when you're about to do something difficult or, you know, a little bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been tough because usually you manage to find one or two people with friendly smiles and looks, and you kind of focus on looking at them when you're speaking in public. But having a crowd of everybody having poker faces or or checking their phones, etc. But you know, and still being confident that it's going to be fine. It requires, I think, even more courage, right, in that way. And there's another thing that I tell myself in great moments of doubt, you know, before doing a presentation or doing an IG live, if it's that time of the month where I'm not feeling really confident or whatsoever, it's kind of telling myself that, you know, no matter what, I'm going to be okay, because you know, it's not going to define me. Whatever is happening, even today when we are talking now, etc. Of course, we want it to be interesting as possible. We are ambitious ladies, and we want, you know, to create value in our content. but it's not the end of the world, right? If it doesn't go as well as planned, or if what we say is not 100% perfect or accurate, or if we forget certain things, I'm gonna still be okay. My worth is not going to be impacted. I find that really helps, kind of making myself, taking myself less seriously, and
Yeah,
laughing about, whether, I have a French accent, so I might say the wrong thing, or pronounce it completely wrong.
yeah,
It just
totally fine.
exactly, it's de-dramatizing, because at the end, if you remember who you've helped, the evidence of the people you've helped along the way, and that you've added value, if you remember that, that should be enough. But it does impact your confidence,
Hmm.
especially when the crowd is tough.
I would say, as long as you're proud of what you've achieved, if you've done your best and you're proud of yourself, I think that's what really matters, no matter what the outcome is. I mean, it's nice to get recognition from people around us, but there's nothing, for me, it fails in comparison when you're really proud of yourself and what you've done. It doesn't really matter. Um, and I think that the more you do it, the stronger you get, and the more confident you get. It's such a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And the thing is, one thing that I learned from my edge walk is, because I really had to really pump myself up this, you know, this amazing force. Nothing is gonna scare me. I'm just like, I'm beatable. I'm unstoppable. But why not take that technique and use it to tackle my day-to-day goals, my other goals in life, um, because I can. I was like, oh my God, I actually can. And why not just apply these same techniques to, whether it's a talk, or whether it's, like, I don't know, writing a book, or publishing a course, whatever it is. That's one of the lessons that I learned, and it only happened in the week following the edge walk, where, like, when I was just going over what happened in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, take that technique and how I pump myself to do this amazing thing that I thought was scary to me, and apply it to other things that might scare me a little bit. My goals, whether it's career goals or life goals, whatever it is.
I'm sure that energy, that whatever energy that came out of doing that edge walk was so contagious that it must have fueled you to do a lot of things after that. Because I think courage, feeds courage. It's contagious.
Yes,
And
absolutely. And every time I get a little bit scared, I was like, wait, if I can do the edge walk, I can do anything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the thing. Every time anything happens, well, if I can do the edge, my daughter asked me to do something today in the playground. I was like, if I can do the edge walk, I can definitely do this, right? She was like, yes, mommy, okay, whatever. Uh,
I mean,
so
you've set a fantastic example to your daughter as well. And
thank
I want to hear also about that, because I watch your videos, your IG stories, and there was one that I loved, that she said 2 or 3 sentences, self-talk sentences, about,
Yeah,
how she was, she could do anything she wanted. Do you
yes,
remember those sentences? I don't want to say the
yeah.
wrong ones.
Je suis forte, I'm strong, je suis capable, I'm capable, je fais de mon mieux, I do my best. We've been saying these three phrases, I would say, since maternelle, since like KG, junior kindergarten, um, every single day of school, every single day. We said it
Amazing.
today, we said it yesterday, and I just want her to, and it's fake it till you make it. When it gets really, I want it to be really stuck in her head. She's really strong, and I feel it's had a positive impact on her, and just how she performs for the rest of the day
Yeah,
at school.
I find that especially girls are more perfectionists, especially at that age, when they're I can see it already with my twin toddlers, boy and girl. I'm not saying that she will necessarily quit if it's not perfect, but she would want to start again, right? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than trying to correct maybe if she's painting something or drawing something, and she went outside the border and stuff like that, she would want to start again. And I'm
So
trying to
so it
tell
can be
her,
perfect. So it
yeah,
can be perfect. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And I think those sentences are so important for anybody, but I think especially for little girls, here she would probably go to a girls' school, single girls' school, and you know, to try and help them and conquer those mistakes and try to learn from them and then try again, right? And but not quit, because there's a fine line here. You know, when you're a perfectionist, you could become a quitter if it's, you know, too hard and if you don't want to feel that you're failing, etc. So I think those sentences are so powerful, and I'm gonna copy you on that.
Yeah, do that. In
Definitely.
fact, Scarlett's teacher 2 years ago did that for the whole class. Because I would post it on social media, so she wrote it down for on their notebooks, so they can read that and see that every day. And I think everyone, you know, child or adult, should be saying. Sometimes we go farther. We go, "Je suis la meilleure. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world." She looked at me and smiled. I was like, "You are. You have to believe it."
That's great, Lina. Thank you so much. I'm aware we said we were going to keep it to half an hour. I'm aware of that. So I just wanted to tell people that have joined right now, just to
My
summarize a
mom
little
just
bit.
joined, so I want to say hi to my mom.
Hi. Hello, Lina's
Russia.
mom.
Yeah.
Russia, hi. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, so
From
I
Lebanon.
was just summarizing. Unless, Lina, do you want to summarize what we talked about, or do you want me to do it? As your mom just joined, maybe that would be nice for her to hear your voice rather than mine.
Well, thanks so much for having me. We talked about my edge walk at the CN Tower, and you know how important it is to tell yourself how great you are, how amazing you are. Self-talk is really important. It has I think it makes all the difference. So important to celebrate who you are, celebrate the wins, big and small, not to be too hard on yourself. And you know, what you think about, you become. I totally believe in that. If you think you're gonna conquer that fear, you will. If you're not sure, then it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And my major tips for people who might experience some stage fright before public speaking is to reframe your anxiety as excitement. Tell yourself how excited you are. Tell yourself how great you are. Remember all the great work that you've done to date, and go in with all the self-confidence. Don't let anything steer you off that mindset. It's really important to kind of like be centered and just go on. And sometimes I find when and then that happened to me on my way to the CN Tower, I called a friend and I said, I'm gonna do it. And I felt the energy level was not the same as mine. I was like up there. I was like, I'm about to conquer the world. And he was like, "Oh, that's crazy." You know, I was like, "No, I need to kind of stay in my zone."
Yeah.
And that's really important, to stay in your zone and kind of until it becomes second nature to you. And then it's not as big a deal. And you'll figure that out on your own.
Exactly. So that might mean that during that time you just are in your zone. So you might not to want to sound rude, but to tell the person, okay, just I need to do this, right? So
Exactly.
we'll maybe we can do it together next time. That I need to do this. But when it comes to fear of public speaking, you were also saying how practice, you know,
Practice.
made it so much easier, and also preparing. And I find that preparing for the unexpected, and sometimes preparing for, you know, those difficult looks that people might give you when they look bored or they're distracted or not focused, also helps. You know, how am I going to respond? How is my energy level going to be impacted by those kind of attitudes? And I find that really helps. And you've given an example of you doing a talk to a bunch of dentists that weren't very responsive, but at the end really enjoyed the talk. So anybody who's joined just now, you should listen to that story as well. I want to ask you this one last question that's
Absolutely.
been on my mind, because I'm so afraid of heights. So
Mm-hmm.
afraid of heights. I've been afraid of heights since I'm a child. I think it comes from my dad. I've heard it's also a medical thing, from the balance of the ear or whatever. I'm not that familiar with that. You might be more than me, but I've become more afraid of heights since I've had the children.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talking to a psychiatrist, he said that it's because I care about their lives more than my own. So my fear has been enhanced. All right.
Yeah.
So do you think I could be, you know, could I do that CN Tower? Could somebody who's that afraid of heights, you know,
Absolutely. In
do
fact,
it?
In fact, absolutely. In fact, I realized, because when I was doing it, there was a couple doing it as well, and it was the man's birthday, and he's totally afraid of heights, and he did it no problem. I mean, it seems what I understood is that, people do that to conquer that fear of heights specifically. Uh,
Right.
so I mean, whether it's there, or you might have something equivalent in the UK. I'm not sure, but I think it's totally doable. Like, a lot of people just want to do it to conquer that fear of heights. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm sure you get more tips from them, but I think I would apply the tips we discussed today, and plus whatever they advise you with. And speaking of kids, I find ever since I had my kids, yeah, I've heard that people get more scared of things, but I felt like I've had more responsibility, not to myself now, but to my kids, to be, as courageous as possible, and to set the best example. Like, I want my kid to conquer her fear. And now she wants to do it on her
Yeah.
13th birthday, because I think kids copy you in everything that you do. My daughter wants to do it on her 13th birthday, because that's the minimum age. She wants to do the edge walk, because I've done it. She's trying to pose always in front of the CN Tower to kind of make it to associate herself with my achievement, which is amazing. So I think whatever you do as well, your kids are gonna, they're watching you all the time, and that's going to inspire them to conquer their own
I love
fear.
that.
Whatever it is they're doing in school, or in daily life, that it will have a huge impact on them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's that's so true. I don't, you see, I think that obviously maybe I would conquer all the fears, because the fear of height is something that is paralyzing me so much,
Mhm.
so that I think that would be too much of a fear to conquer right now. But clearly that idea of wanting to have my daughter, walk my path and being an example for her, that's something that is very dear to me. And thinking about our own values, what is truly important for us, if it's learning, reading, being outdoor in nature, facing our fears, being brave, etc., making a list of what those could represent and what is actually achievable. I think as that's a great tip for parents who want to spend time with their children and are not sure how to do it, aside from taking them to school and their activities, maybe developing things that are truly important to you.
I think the best thing you can do for your kids is to actually live out your dreams. I'm not someone who's crazy about activities, and driving my kids around for different activities, whether it's swimming or ballet or whatever it is. I want her to see me follow my dreams, so she can do the same as well. Like, that's an investment in myself and her as well. I
Oh, I
think
love
that
that.
has a much more deeper impact on her, versus, and of course you do all other things as well, as much to your abilities, as best to your abilities, but I think you owe yourself and her, uh, that you follow your dreams. And I know you've said, maybe this is too much for me to. I think we both know that's the one thing you need to do, and you just have to do it.
So does that mean when I go visit Maria, I'll visit you
Oh
and we
yes,
go at
we
that
have to do
top
it
of the
together.
seat?
I'll hold your hand.
I'm gonna be crying and screaming. Like you'll have
Because
you'll have to do a lot of prep talk with
there
me.
was a 90-year-old woman who's done it. A
Wow.
90-year-old woman who's done it. And actually, she's part of the inspiration. And I said, if the 90-year-old woman can do it, I can definitely do it.
Wow. Wow.
It's on YouTube. You can look it up. 90-year-old woman on doing the edge walk at the CN Tower.
That's amazing. I mean,
So
you're an inspiration, Lina. And what you said at the end, you owe to your kids to live your dream. This is amazing. This
live
is
your dream.
something.
Live your dream
Yeah.
so your kids can
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. 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 We
Because
keep
how can you
thinking.
expect them to follow their dreams if you're not following your own dream?
Yeah. And if your dream might means that you have to work, and not be fully present, it's this constant guilt. Like today, I was talking about that to a few more working moms, and they were saying, when I'm at work, I'm thinking of my kids. When with my kids, I'm thinking of my work. It's this constant guilt of where should I spend my time? And of
Yeah.
course, you you create some good quality time with your kids. But if you live your dream, and if your dream is, you know, working and achieving certain dreams, etc., it might mean that for a period of time you won't spend as much time with your kids. You might sacrifice certain things, but then eventually that might catch up, and your kids will always, and from what I've heard, like your kids after a while, they'll always be grateful and in admiration of parents who have actually lived their dreams.
Sorry about that. No, I
No
totally agree
worries.
with you. And it, you know, it depends on it. You know, it's personal, right? It depends on each one of us and what they're going through and their circumstances and what's really important to them.
Yeah.
It never. This is a conversation that I can talk about all day, and I'm sure you can too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We could revisit that maybe very
Absolutely.
soon. Talk about parenting and living our dreams and guilt. That'd be fantastic. Thank you so much, Lina. It was a great pleasure to have you here, and
Thank you so much for having me.
yeah.
When are you coming to Canada?
We'll have to do that very soon when it seems
Okay.
that things are getting better. But Maria is coming in December, so we'll spend Christmas here, and hopefully soon we'll have to go and see her there as well. But I
Okay.
will for sure
Then
spend
I'll be.
time with you.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the Edge Walk together later on.
Definitely. Thanks to everybody who's joined us. Have a great evening,
Okay.
everybody. A great day on your side.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye from
Bye.
Toronto. Thanks so much, Tanya. Bye bye.
Bye, Dina.